Hello, my friends. Today we're in the adjunct garage to the metal shop, and we are working on the doors. And thankfully, not a lot of work was done in this Cobra project. As you know, I inherited someone else's project. Like I said, not a lot of work was done, but some of the most fiddly, tedious, and kind of difficult work has been done. The holes for the door handles have been cut out. The access hole, I mean, this isn't difficult stuff here. But the trunk latch was installed, and the door latch here on the passenger side was installed. And this cutout that they made for the striker is pretty nice. It's quite precise. This hole is off a little bit. If you look at the latch mechanism, you'll see how this hole is dropped down from the line here. And these holes are kind of in a line. This one I'm probably gonna have to open up the hole a little bit just to get that to go. But handle was drilled out. This little slot here was drilled out. This one was set up, so I have a nice template to go off of here. So I have to cut the access slot here, you know, for this spring and the latch mechanism. I have to cut the slot there, and I have to cut this slot for the striker plate. And I've checked and checked and checked, and this was already marked. Came like this. This mark is very accurate, and this one I'm not sure about. So what I'm going to do is I have my drill, got my body saw. I'll drill some holes and I'll cut this small and kind of sneak my way up to, you know, the right point there. Quite honestly, with the tools that I have, I don't know that I'll be able to get as nice a cutout as was done here. So someone who had this, I believe this is probably going to be the original owner, the person who purchased this, did some very nice work, some very precision work. I don't know why he ended up selling the car along, and everybody's got their reasons. So let's get some fiberglass dust flying. Cool. Got the handle in place, got the slot cut, and I had to open up the hole. I just whittled away at it with the body saw, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit there, to get it just right. And it is just right, sits in there very nicely. And I got, sorry about, we're losing light here in the other garage. I got the slot cut here. It looks nice, it's hard to tell because you got the Sharpie around the edge, makes it look a little messy. And I couldn't understand when I'm cutting with the body saw here, it's smoking and having a hard time, until I looked at the plug that came out. Look at that. Look how thick that fiberglass is there up in the corner. So yeah, that was thick. I had to get a chisel and a hammer going here. There was a couple of these little, I don't know what you want to call these, little stalactites, stalagmites. I'm not sure what this stuff is, but it was blocking the plate here, the striker plate, from mounting flush up against the inside of the door. But I did get it. The holes were lined up, and the instructions say they were dimpled. So again, either the previous owner, one of the previous owners, did a beautiful job with these holes because they all lined right up. This thing fell right into place. So I'm real quick, I'm gonna bolt the handles down. I have a little bit of rod here. I have to bend a 90 in this and bend a hook in the other side here. So it's a little bit of fiddly work just to get the I want to have both door handles operational, and then we're going to move it over to the car. And we're going to get these doors hung. So, cool. Leave me to my fiddly work, and I'll see you soon. I just had to devote a second to this piece right here. This clips into the door handle on the right angle side, and then the door strike on the other side. I am so darn proud of how that came out. I mean, that looks like an absolute professional made that piece, and not me. Let's bring it over the door. Hopefully it fits. All right. So my little shepherd's hook installed in there. Tough to see inside the door. Got my holes drilled. I found a little bit of a flaw. The hole for this should be a little big so that you can move it back and forth if you need to. Right now it works perfectly. You'll see here we have the door is latched and the bolts are very snug. The strike is flush up against the inside of the door. And, whoops, working perfectly. Pretty crude locking mechanism. Like you need a lock on a Roadster. You don't need a lock on the door handle. No handles on the outside. Yeah, on a Roadster. Anyway, so success. Now lug these heavy doors over to the Cobra itself. And I should note, there's a huge C-channel. Can you see that in there? That is steel. There's a huge C-channel running the width of this door to give you side impact protection. And I showed you how much extra reinforcement there is here around the latch. And if you remember, the strike goes through the door opening, and it's a chunk of, has a steel plate that bolts down through the frame. So, you know, one area where Street Beast is way ahead of the curve, they're thinking about your safety. They've actually improved on the Cobra. I mean, I don't like the way these door handles look and so on and so forth, but they're thinking about your safety. And no Cobra, none of the originals and none of the replicas, they've got thin fiberglass or sheet metal doors, aluminum doors, and the latch on those original cars was patented in the late 1800s for horses and buggies. You get hit on the side of that thing, you might as well be on a motorcycle because you're going to be hurting for certain. We got some protection in the Street Beast, so I don't speak positively of them very often, but this is one area that they got it right. So cool. Let's get these doors over to the car. So we're on to the next step, and that is to hang the door in the opening just temporarily with your paint sticks for spacers so that you can mark the hinges. Now, this one over here fit just fine. That one over there, even though I followed their instructions to the T, I had to slot the bottom mount for the hinge so that it would fit, so it would bolt on to the support in here. So you see, I just have this taped shut. It's, no matter what you do, it's kind of a compromise. You want to leave a little bit of a gap all the way around so your door will open and won't hit, but you also want your lines, your reveal lines, to be very much the same. I couldn't, this here is just kind of the way it is. There has to, it will fit flush-ish with no space whatsoever on that bottom corner, and you can't have that. I did have to adjust the hinge. The mount's slotted so that you can adjust it in and out. I did have to adjust it so that it was flush to the door here. You'll see I have those all marked out. So next, what we're going to do, if I can do this with one hand, be a neat trick. The doors are super heavy. We've talked about it a bunch of times. I also found, let's see if I can do this with one hand here. I also found that these holes do come pre-drilled from the factory, and this one was in the wrong spot. It was kind of on the same plane here, but on the inner hinge, this one is lower, so I had to get into that with a Dremel. I thought I was just going to be removing some fiberglass to slide that down, that hole down, so it hit the threaded part on the inside, but there's a metal plate, even fiberglass inside the door, so another plus for Street Beasts. I mean, the amount of safety that they packed in these doors, I know I sound like a broken record, but you know, it's pretty amazing. So got that. Yeah. So with these holes drilled and tapped for 1/4 inch, and you can join me after I do that. Cool. Hung here, drilled and tapped. It's kind of weird. Definitely a lot thicker steel. Maybe there's more fiberglass reinforcement on the bottom. A lot harder to tap than on the top too. Didn't really give me a warm and fuzzy, but thankfully there's a good amount of adjustment, because even with all my spacers and everything, I still had to adjust the door up quite a bit. I just had this bungee holding it in place for right now. But it will open and close properly. Let's call it good enough. Everything on this car is good enough. So what you do is you take a pen. At this point, with the striker closed, and you shove this through the striker, the latch, and you make a mark here on your inner door sill, whatever you want to call it, your inner door sill, which I have done. And then what we have to do is you have to drill this for the door strike. I have this mount here temporarily held in place. Sorry, I'm working upside down, and the striker will go through this here. Doesn't really fit flush. It's not gonna fit flush no matter what I do, because there's a curve in the fiberglass and this piece is straight. So, I mean, it's just there for reinforcement. The striker will go through, we'll bolt out of this, and use this for strength. It doesn't, if there's a tiny little gap in here, it's not the end of the world. There is a gap here. I'll have to put a couple of washers under here. Luckily though, on this side where this bolts through the frame, this fiberglass, I'm sorry, I just mowed the lawn. I'm really sniffly. I apologize. There's no gap between the fiberglass and the frame. On that side over there, big time gap. I mean, so big, I'm gonna have to put some spacers underneath the floor because it's just gonna crush and try and pull a hole through that fiberglass. But that's it for today. I've really had enough. It's really hot, it's really humid. Like I said, I mowed the lawn. I've done this. Sorry, my son and I mowed the lawn. He mows, I do the weed whacking. Credit where credit is due. Gonna leave it here and just give it some thought. There's a reason I did the passenger side door first. I'm gonna learn and make all my mistakes on the passenger side door. I do that all the time. I don't think about it. Start on the driver's side, you mess something up, blah, blah, blah. It's always right there in your face. So this time, we're gonna start on the passenger side. I'm gonna try and do that from here on out, wherever possible. The vents, passenger side, everything, passenger side, then we'll move to the driver's side. It's important, this side is important, just not as important as the driver's side. Cool. All right, well, I'm gonna close out this video showing you the abject failure of mounting of the doors. They're on there, they fit relatively well in the opening. Neither one of them close or latch for garbage. I mean, it's terrible. So they have you put the door in the sill, space it with paint sticks, mark for your hinges, drill and tap the hinges. I did that. You know, you can align the door, get it fitting and closing in the opening pretty well. And then what they have you do is you get a standard size door latch, style door latch here. It's got the 2 clicks. You know, one is kind of your safety catch, and then the other one is shut. So if you can see that, there's a hole there. And what they have you do is they have you come in through this opening here with a Sharpie or whatever. I used a Sharpie, and then I actually used a 7/16 brad point drill bit because that exactly fit in the hole, gave me the centered mark that I needed for the strike. All right, problem is, and I ran into this on both sides, I cannot get the door to latch past the initial 1 click. So it's loose as heck. And I had to, they give you like a 2.5 inch bolt, maybe it's a 3 inch bolt, I'm not sure. But you see how much space I had to do, how many spacers I had to put in here to push the striker out so that it would even catch the latch. All right, so I had to use a much longer bolt. And if we look at the other side here, that upright that gives you all your side impact protection, that stanchion or whatever you want to call it, hooks the strike to the frame. That piece it's very poorly built. I shouldn't say it's well built, but the dimensions on it, the angles are all off. That upright needs to be bent 1 inch further to the outside, and this piece doesn't fit flat on the floor. There's a large gap, you know, maybe 3/16 of an inch there on this far side, and that thing is under a huge amount of spring tension where if I would release that strike, this thing would snap out about 1 inch, 1.5 inches. Pretty much the same on both sides. I ran into another issue. I did the floors. Now they want you to use rivets, okay? And maybe they make a rivet that would work, but I had a 1/4 inch floor and a 1/4 inch overlap here. That's a 1/2 inch. That's a humongous rivet. And I don't have anything that big. I have tons of rivets, but nothing that big. So I just used stainless steel bolts to drill through. And quite honestly, this side, you see the weights I have on here. This side fit for garbage anyway, so there's quite a bit of suction going on there to pull those pieces together. You see I've got, you know, butyl adhesive in there because that has to be watertight to the elements. And I think I ran into, you know, all these things affect each other. You know, bolting this to the frame and pulling on this, you're pulling on your door sill, you're pulling on your floor. Through the alignment of this door, way out of whack. The passenger side was better, but still, both of them, I can only get them to latch to the one click. So I have conceded my abject failure. I've conceded defeat. And what I'm going to do is when this thing goes to the body shop to get painted, a friend of mine owns a body shop. He's a professional, I'm sure. And knowing him, he'll take one look at it and be like, oh, you just got to do this. You need to do this, that, or the other thing. Unfortunately, what I think is the strike has to be moved out a little bit. And that's okay. But the problem is, remember what I said, those stanchions are under a huge amount of spring tension and they're pulling the opposite way. So if I slot this, that stupid upright is going to be pulling like crazy towards the inside, and this thing I think needs to be moved to the outside, maybe down a little bit, whatever. So we're going to have to do something. Probably going to have to put some type of a sleeve, some type of spacer actually in that hole so that it can't pull it away. Anyway, let's see. Not so bad. So that's it. That's it for this video. Sorry, I get some comments that I've never heard somebody talk so much or long-winded, and I apologize if that's the case. I'm trying to be as descriptive and as explanatory as I possibly can with this stuff. You know, I didn't show you a lot of the details of me drilling holes, drilling and tapping holes, and mounting these doors. Quite honestly, you wouldn't want to see that. It wouldn't be a video fit for YouTube. Oh, I don't know if we can see this or not. See that over there? I also added that support right there, focus, because what I was getting was the door is so heavy and it's only mounted to one of those uprights, it would kind of bounce a little bit. So I fabricated those supports. A buddy of mine welded them up for me. I fabbed them, he welded, painted them up just to take out that bounce. And it's like that on both sides. Anyway, pretty darn close to going to the body shop. So as always, my friends, thank you for watching. I appreciate your support. Please give me a like, give me a subscribe, recommend my videos to your friends. All right, take care. Bye-bye.